like a halcyon, nostalgic, like warm feeling. Yet it's almost like a little bit bittersweet. Like that's what the music kind of evokes into me. Does it sound like I wrote that in notes? Because I did not. I made that shit up.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Anime Summit Podcast. I am your host, Mac, and with me, I got Sam, who happens to be on at least his 13th heart attack this week.
Mac, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Sam. I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. And then I got Nick the Fart Knocker Stoner, who was recently scalded by the cheese of a flaming hot nacho.
Oh, let me tell you, it's hot cheese.
That is
How hot is that nacho cheese there?
That is some hot cheese.
It's hotter than the Bears when they're on a win streak, eh?
Well, they're a little cold here recently, aren't they?
Yeah, but that Jordan Howard, quite the running back. Jordan Howard. He is their running back right now.
I know.
Me Ditka
Okay, this is not a fucking football cast. Jesus Christ.
Welcome to ESPN 8, The Ocho.
Welcome to the Fantasy
Football Show. Yeah, because
that'd
that
be
would
pretty
totally
fun
work.
podcast for a minute. But the Venn diagram is pretty small, though. Of weeboos plus football fans.
Right.
I mean, we would be, you know, kind of like reaching out to the niche, you know, the fringes.
The
per
niche.
se. The niche.
The niche.
The Nietzsche.
The Nietzsche.
Have you guys ever heard of
the
Nietzsche? Do you even read him? Jeez.
Jesus.
Welcome to Anime Summit Podcast, guys. And
Where we're ultra fucking pretentious.
later in the show,
And we like to put on fake accents occasionally.
Yeah, mine kind of went Canadian.
Yeah, because you started putting the A's in there. Hey, later in the show, we're going to talk about Studio Ghibli. Nick had this great idea to do a series on Studio Ghibli films. Obviously, we can't cover all of them in one cast, okay? So we're going to do these 3 films at a time in order of release. And
We're gonna do them like in little bits. Like
we're going to give our thoughts on that. But first off, let's talk about some news.
All right, Sam. First on the news docket. I just start talking like that whenever I do news.
And now for Anime Summit News, we have Nick Stoner.
Yeah, Anchor.
All right, the Crunchyroll 2016 Anime Awards have completed, and the fans are salty. Yuri on Ice swept, whether it deserved it or not. If you'd like a real list, please check out my shitty anime list blog, where I have Bakuan at number 6. It's true, I actually do have Bakuan as my
Wait, so
number
why
6
were
of the
people
year.
salty? I don't get it. Just real
Because the nominees for the anime awards on Crunchyroll were questionable, and like the way they had voting and like judges was like people weren't entirely happy with how it worked. You can read all about it on other sites like Reddit and whatnot. I don't want to get too into it. Basically, like, the JoJo villain didn't win, and like Yuri on Ice won way too many fucking awards when it shouldn't have won them. And yeah, that's mostly it. But
Really? It sounds like some homophobia.
So we got some breaking news, actually. This just in. People are literally able to feel the gravitational shifts in the Earth because Quokka, a.k.a. Kamchatka, has produced so many metric tons of salt. Because in this corner of the world was named the best Japanese movie of 2016 instead of Kimi no Na wa. And boy, let me tell you, Nick and Sam, I'd hate to be there. I really would. I can just imagine the ranting and the raving and the nonsensical arguments that dwell on things that don't.
yeah,
really
I just
matter.
imagine Quokka climbing over the wall like a titan now. Fucking kick down the
into a
wall in
titan.
Japan. They'll be like, what?
But so yeah, it was named the best, you know, Japanese movie
There's
of
a bunch of other Japanese
2016,
things
like
that
the
came
best
out.
movie period, not just animated movie, but the best period. And that hasn't
Yeah, Kimi no
happened
Na wa?
since
Take that.
My Neighbor Totoro in 1988, which is also
which we're
funny
talking
enough,
about later.
part of this episode. Woo!
All right, so moving on with the news.
Yeah, we got one more quick one. Sam, you want to talk about you want to highlight one of Ghibli's TV series?
Oh, yeah, just really quick. I just thought this was cool. It's kind of relevant. I guess it was announced a while ago, but now it's like releasing everywhere soon. is Studio Ghibli's new TV series, Ranja the Robber's Daughter. It's coming to the West for the first time this year thanks to Amazon Prime. 26 episode series. It's like, I think it's 3D animated though. That's kind of what bugs me about it. But
So in other words, it's called Ganja the Pipe Smoker's Daughter.
oh my god.
Sounds exciting.
So yeah.
So speaking of Amazon Prime, Sam, Amazon launched recently an anime subscription channel. And some people are salty because it used to be, if you had Prime, you'd have access to all these things, including anime. And now you got to pay an extra, I think it's $4.99 a month, give or take, to access the anime content they have, which is like, they have some weird selection, but it's not as big as Crunchyroll, obviously.
But I agree, that is dumb though. Like, hey,
Yeah, that seems like a little bit too much
that
extra
is a little
to pay.
stupid. Not
Unless
gonna
their
lie.
library is like massive, then it could be worth it. But I don't think they have that big of a library yet. So maybe they're just like rolling it out and seeing how it works, testing it out.
no one's gonna pay that
But-
extra. They're already paying $70 for Prime a year.
Yeah, I think it's like $100 a year, give or take, for that, for Prime. But I think overall it'll be good in the long run. In the short term, it's probably overpriced.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't know.
and,
It
you
seems
know,
dumb.
speaking of streaming services, Netflix is apparently hiring a director to be specifically in charge of the anime they stream.
Oh yeah, that's
How does
right.
that
yeah,
make
dude.
you feel? How does that make you feel?
That's
Does that
pretty
give you-
awesome.
They're,
Does that give you
I
tingly
put in my
feelings?
application
Does-
as Supreme Weeaboo.
Does that mean that we might be getting Spice and Wolf season 3?
Oh my god.
EBK Euphonium
that's
season
one,
3?
That's one way that it could work if Netflix just throws money at them.
Just literally starts throwing cash at these production studios.
I
like,
mean,
"Make
it makes
shit."
the pay the subscription fee like when they upped it, to like $9 or whatever. Makes it a little more worth it that they're trying. They're trying to do stuff like that and bring more content.
which
and junk.
legitimately is pretty awesome. Like, not
Yeah.
even gonna lie.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
and that's a whole other story about them raising it because of ISPs and shit throttling them. But anyway, let's not get into that.
Oh yeah, it's
The
a whole
evil
nother convo.
ISP
That's
overlords.
a bunch of technical tomfoolery we don't need to get into.
Yeah.
And also, I don't fully understand it, but I do know that Comcast is evil.
You just see numbers. Before we get to like the main topic, best girl for this week,
Sheeta.
Sheeta, we going with Sheeta?
More like shitta, dude. Haha. No,
I
I'm just
wanna
kidding.
take
She's
a
actually a pretty good
Sheeta.
girl, dude.
Princess Sheeta from Castle in the Sky. I'm all about I'm all
Castle in
about
the
it.
Sky. And we should we'll talk about her. Actually, Sam, you go ahead. Why would you pick her out of all the girls in the 3 movies we have?
Well, because she's the oldest.
No, dude.
Wait, how do
could've
you know
picked
she's older
Dola.
than,
You could have picked Dola.
Oh yeah, Dola.
Yeah, the
Dude.
old lady.
Actually, Dola. Yeah, I picked Dola. Sorry.
There's a couple old ladies actually.
I
Sam.
would
You could
marry
pick
Dola.
one.
Dola's awesome. Nope, Dola. She's a freaking granny who leads the Dola gang, which is a pirate gang. Get out of here.
She has like parachute pants or whatever they are.
Hell
I don't know if
yeah.
they're
She has
parachute, but
she has some kind of pants.
She's
let me
got-
tell ya.
They're pirate pants.
Where
They're
she's a
pirate
badass.
pants.
Castle in the Sky, Dola, and the Dola gang. Do it. Best girl, Dola.
Best grill. So
And before we start into the Castle in the Sky, we should briefly mention what is Studio Ghibli. It's technically pronounced Ghibli, but everyone calls it something different.
It's from,
Studio
it's
Giblets.
from the Italian word Ghibli. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah, and
man, Studio Ghibli is an animation film studio, and it's in Koganai, Tokyo, Japan, and it's best known for the anime feature films it produces. My Neighbor Totoro, Kiki's Delivery Service, Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle. It's a very, very awesome studio, and it was founded by Hayao Miyazaki, I believe. Yep, Hayao Miyazaki, Isao Takahata, Toshio Suzuki, and Yasuyoshi Tokuma. And after they had already done a couple animated features together, I believe they opened the studio to keep producing more films. A lot of these films are really great. They've gotten nominated for Golden Globes. Disney produces all of Hayao Miyazaki's films in English. Like, it's Disney, okay? Like, they fucks with it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Anyway, there's really not a lot I can say. They just are a great animation studio, and
yeah, they're. So I'm reading here. There's a list somebody made on. It's called AnimationCareerReview.com. A guy made a list of the top 100 most influential animation studios of all time.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
And Studio Ghibli is number 10 on that list, which is insane.
Right.
That's really high.
Wait, out of how many?
Actually, he just named the top 100.
Oh, okay.
There's more than that, but like, this is all time. And, you know, I think the highest up, Madhouse is number 8. And then you have, actually, Nippon Production, or Animation is number 4. But then, like, number 1, you have Industrial Light and Magic, which
of course.
Basically they did, what did they do, like Star Wars?
Yeah, they do all those crazy
like,
effects for...
Star Wars is like the most pivotal single movie of all time, I think. But
of all time.
Industrial Light and Magic,
keep saying all time so we sound better.
Industrial Light and Magic, they do a lot of those animation effects and special effects and stuff. So anyway.
They really helped a lot. And then Disney's number 2. But anyway, so Ghibli at number 10 is like, that's really big, you know?
Yeah.
So what
Hayao
you're telling,
Miyazaki is
what
like
you're
the
telling
face
me
of
is
Ghibli.
KyoAni's like number 9, right?
No.
They're like, I think they're like number 90 or something. They were a little farther down the list, but
a little farther.
they're newer, so
yeah.
they're not new, but they're
okay.
Less
like fanboying
prolific.
aside, that's still pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, and I think Gainax is like 15 or something like that.
Yeah, Gainax needs to be up there. Fully agree.
Yeah, it's a really
with
cool list. We'll link it in the show notes.
But yeah, yeah, there's really not much to say. Currently, Studio Ghibli is not really doing much since Hayao Miyazaki kind of announced his retirement a couple years ago.
Yeah, he handed the reins over to the director of when Marnie was there, I think. I think. What was that guy's name?
His name was Hiromasa Yonibayashi.
That sounds right.
No, I'm reading it right now, yeah. Like,
and also,
because When Marnie Was There is the most recent. I think that's the most recent Ghibli film.
Speaking of Hayao Miyazaki, it was his birthday here pretty recently,
January
the
5th.
So it kind of fits
remember
in well.
the 5th of January.
Remember the 5th of January. Yeah, dude. But yeah, there's even a Studio Ghibli or Ghibli museum. Okay, like that's all you need to say. Like there's a museum.
There's a Studio Giblets museum
of Studio Ghibli stuff.
So anyway, enough nut hugging.
Enough nut hugging.
Let's
yeah.
talk about Ghibli. Let's talk about some movies.
I will say really quick that there is a documentary on Studio Ghibli.
Oh yeah.
Of Hayao Miyazaki doing his last film, The Wind Rises.
What's the name of this one called again?
I forgot.
The Kingdom of Dreams and Madness.
Yeah.
That's the name.
The Kingdom of Dreams and Madness. I highly recommend watching the documentary. It's a great documentary that follows Hayao Miyazaki and making the last film, The Wind Rises. And you see him talking to Hideaki Anno, messing around with the studio cat. It's funny. Anyways, moving on. Let's get on to the main topic, shall we?
Yeah. So the movies
Castle
we're
in the
talking
Sky.
about today, Castle in the Sky, Grave of the Fireflies, and My Neighbor Totoro. Now, before we get into Castle in the Sky, you may be saying, but guys, what about the Castle of Cagliostro and Nazca of the Valley of the Wind?
What about them, Mac?
Well,
God damn it.
they were before Ghibli's official formation. So they don't get counted on this list because we're doing Studio.
We'll do something
Ghibli.
extra for those two.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
We'll come up with something.
They're often considered Ghibli films because they're done by the same people, but they're technically not. So anyway, yeah, go ahead. Take it away, Mac. Castle in the Sky.
Okay.
The first of the Ghibli movies.
The first of the Giblet movies, Castle of the Sky. It came out in 1986. Specifically, started airing August 2nd of 1986. Of course, done by Studio Giblets. Let's see here. I'll just go through the plot synopsis here pretty quick. I'll just kind of skim over it. So basically, the movie just takes world kind of like in. I guess it'd almost be like a right at the beginning of like a steel age, kind of like the Industrial Revolution, that kind of area.
Yeah.
Before
And-
computers and smartphones.
Yes,
Fucking millennials, dude.
Before it was before
Oh
the
my God.
almighty Apple. Yeah. It was before the almighty Apple, and there's this myth going around, about this city that floats in the sky and all this other jazz. The main character, Patsu, well, one of the main characters, his dad saw this floating city and has a picture of it. So he has this kind of angst about wanting to find it and all this other jazz. And just, funny enough, he meets up with a girl named Sheeta. And, and just a big action scene, happens. Actually, multiple action scenes happen in the first, 20 minutes of this movie. And it's basically Sheeta running around from people trying to kidnap her. And it's super exciting. So yeah, her and Patsu go on adventures and trying to get away from these people. And all throughout the story, you kind of learn a little bit more about this floating city, which is called Laputa. And yeah. So I just now realized we forgot to put the little disclaimer at the beginning. I realized
for
that
spoilers?
halfway
Oh yeah,
through
just
that.
in case. Yeah, you guys.
We'll be minorly spoiling the movies.
So I
Yes.
mean, you should. These films are old, okay? It's Studio Ghibli. But if you really care about spoilers, I would suggest just go watch the movies and come back. All right, we'll be right here, and go.
Okay, thank you.
Actually,
This,
we're going to delete the podcast before you can listen. Sorry.
This unchains me. This there was things that I put down in notes that I wanted to say, and I'm like, shit. We forgot to mention the spoiler disclaimer.
All
What?
does not go according to the Keikaku.
No,
It
it's
does
all right.
not go according to Keikaku. But so Sheeta is from, she has this bloodline to the people who once inherited Laputa. And you find out, who exactly she is as the story goes on.
Well, they're chasing her because of the amulet she has.
Well, yeah, the amulet
That's
that
a
you
big
see
reason
in
they're...
the first minute, the glowing amulet that is super powerful. That's made out. If you watch the dub, it's made out of Ethereum. That's what it's called, right?
Yeah, they call
Ethereum?
it
Yeah,
Ethereum
it's
in the
spelled
dub.
weird.
Yeah, and volasite
Yeah.
in Japanese.
This powerful mineral that the inheritance of Laputa figured out how to mine and refine and make into crystals and such, and they have magical powers, which is right up Ghibli's alley, magic and supernatural elements and all that other jazz, unless you watch the next movie we talk about. But yeah, I mean that kind of, touches base on really the basics of the movie.
Oh, and there's a third faction so there's the pirates that are chasing her, and then eventually the army or the military.
Yeah.
And then eventually she teams up with the pirates, and they go after the military. They go to the castle in the sky. Thus, the movie is named that. And
Castle in the Sky.
They figure out what to do with the crystal and how to combat what the military is trying to do.
Well, that stuff Ethereum is what powers. It's what enables the castle to float. It's a very powerful stone. Has all kinds of crazy powers. Now, this is a Hayao Miyazaki one. This is written and directed by him. So Disney does have a dub for this one, on top of the streamlined dub. So there's two dubs. I recommend the Disney dub, but that's just me.
Yeah, Disney does a good job dubbing. I think that on all of their dubs, it's pretty good.
They're pretty good, yeah. Anna Paquin, James Vanderbeek, Mark Hamill does the bad guy. Jim Cummings, that's Winnie the Pooh, by the way. And Andy Dick.
Oh, yeah.
Andy Dick is actually in it.
Andy Dick, holy shit.
Andy Dick.
Yeah.
That guy is a little bit unhinged, but yeah, he's very funny. He's very funny from afar. If you're right next to him, I'd probably, try to scamper away a little bit.
Right.
Just watching and listening, it's funny.
Right. So I think the themes of this movie, I really liked it. The themes I think are important, as a lot of Ghibli films have environmental consciousness themes. Pretty much all of them. But they'll throw in another thing on top of that normally. And I think government greed is a huge part of this one, because the pirates are the good guys. At first, they're kind of chasing Sheeta because they want her crystal, But then when Patsu promises them treasure from Laputa, then they'll team up, and it's like, I just want to save Sheeta, because the army has her. But, the military, they got all these expensive weapons, huge airship called the Goliath, and they already have all this military industrial power. And the secret agent guy, Colonel Muska, the CIA agent, wants to go after Laputa because Laputa is also a hugely weaponized fortress, using the power of that crystal.
So
actually,
did any of you guys catch the low key OG biblical reference whenever they were talking about Laputa?
Yes,
I probably did, but I don't remember.
There's one scene where I don't know if they just threw it in just to say, oh yeah, this is how old it is and give reference to it. But they said that it was the city that burned Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah.
And I was like, huh.
Yeah,
that's old.
Okay.
Because when he's weaponizing it, it shoots out these huge red lightning
Yeah, they're like
bolts
lasers and shit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And there's robots that are caretakers of the castle. And
so basically, it's a giant freaking castle that shoots freaking laser beams.
Yeah.
It's actually the same castle from the movie Red Line that shoots and blows up the planet.
Yeah.
But so basically, Miyazaki was trying to go for a theme that technology and nature can coexist peacefully, and the military was kind of just forcefully rip away, and didn't care about nature. You could obviously see it where the Mark Hamill character, the evil the what's his name,
Colonel
the
Muska.
general guy, Colonel Muska, he was just slicing away at the plants. He's like, "What are these plants?" And he's so flustered from it.
Right.
And it was a little heavy-handed, but not really. Actually, it was funny to me. But that's basically the main theme, is that he's trying to show how they can intertwine and they don't have to be so opposite.
No, I think that's really important too, because they reveal later that's why the people of the floating cities and floating islands left, because they wanted to be equal with the people down on Earth. They were like it's we don't have to be different, and we have all this crazy technology, but it's let's just leave. And that's, you figure out that's why they abandoned it, because they were afraid someone was going to get power hungry and use Laputa to destroy life. And that's what this Colonel Muska dude's trying to do, because he's a jerk face. Like I said, government greed. But
So, what were some of your guys' favorite scenes from the movie?
I think my favorite scenes were always the ones where you saw Dola and her gang kind of interacting with each other, interacting with Patsu and Sheeta. I thought those were
where she's cooking and then all of the men fall in love with her.
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, do you need any help?" Yeah. And
the first two guys were they were trying to be all secretive about it, and then this third guy comes in, he's like, "I love you."
Right. Yeah. And then Dola's like,
spoilers.
Dola's like, "Get to work, Jesus Christ," but I really like, I don't know if I have really a favorite scene as so much as a favorite thing about it. My favorite thing about it is the character interaction, because the Dola gang, Patsu and Sheeta, they all just wanted to help each other, and they all had different reasons, but they all wanted to make sure everyone was okay. You know what I mean? And at the end, when Sheeta's okay and Dola hugs her, and she's hugging her so tight, she's like, "Oh my God, you're okay. I'm glad you're okay," and all this stuff. And it's, I don't know, I just really liked that chemistry, even though it seemed a little quick. But I don't know, that was just, I don't know. I'm a sucker for things like that.
And I like how they kind of pointed out that Sheeta and Dola were different. The old engineer of the ship was like, "Oh, she reminds me of a younger version of you."
Yeah.
And it's just the showing how Sheeta's growing a little bit, and being useful and smart.
Yeah.
Dude, one of my favorite scenes in this movie, which will come to no surprise to some people, is that scene where Sheeta and Ponzu Sauce are up there in the little kite thing, and they're having that discussion, and everybody's listening into it and just watching Dola's reactions to what both of them were saying. I was like, that's pretty great.
Yeah.
But just some of the conversations they were having up there, I thought were really fitting.
Yeah. I think before we move on, I just really quickly want to say I love the world that was built for Castle in the Sky.
Oh yeah, especially
Dude,
the train track
for how
town.
old
Yeah.
this was, the artwork and the details,
Or the mining
everything
town, sorry.
stood up
Yeah,
the
mining
test of
town.
time.
They build train tracks. in the
They had
town.
these
I mean, they
cool-
probably do, but
These cool airship designs, like it really reminded me of like Final Fantasy IV. Like they have all these airships and kind of
yeah, it's like steampunk without the punk,
yeah.
as we said in our last
Just
recording,
Steam.
which we had to scrap. But
Just Steam.
yeah,
But
just Steam.
Pass on the punk. Pass
But,
on the punk.
But yeah, no, I really loved the design of everything, and even just like down to like the little gun that Dola had, the little grenade gun. I thought those were super cool.
I like how
It was a
everything was
freaking-
like
It was
really
a freaking noob tube, is what it was.
The noob tube.
It was a freaking noob tube.
Hey, you gotta
Just
blow a
boom.
motherfucker up. You gotta blow a motherfucker up sometime. You gotta blow a bitch up.
put a little respect on it, man.
Put a little
She literally,
respect on
she
it, dude.
literally pulls this freaking like hand cannon out of her pants, like legit.
That's
out
why
of
her pants are so
leg.
useful, dude. It's
That's
all
why
in the
those
pants.
big pants are useful. You gotta carry loot. You gotta carry fat loots and weapons.
The fat loot.
She probably got a knife under there too. She's gonna stab a motherfucker.
She probably got like 50 knives. What are you talking about?
I'll tell you what though. We're gonna give our ratings at the very end for all three, but I really did like
Yeah.
this one. I did enjoy it a lot.
Spoiler: I liked all of them.
Spoiler: it was great.
Wow, Ghibli movies are good.
Spoiler: I
It was at
also
11.
liked all of them.
But shall we move on to the next one or what?
We shall,
We shall.
Okay.
and you shall be the guy who heralds in the. Just fucking start going, dude.
Okay, yeah.
Just fucking go.
So they decided to give me the really depressing one. But
Yeah, it's pretty fitting. So
Hotaru no Haka, or Grave of the Fireflies, came out in 1988. It is based on the 1967 semi-autobiographical story, short story, Grave of the Fireflies by Akiyuki Nosaka. This one was directed and screenwritten by Isao Takahata, who he does a lot of producing for Studio Ghibli, and he directs a lot of them too, but not as much as Hayao Miyazaki does. But anyway, person who did the music for this one is Michio Mamiya. Music is really great. Oh, by the way, the music was really great in Castle in the Sky too. It was amazing. Anyway, sorry. Back to Grave
oh
of the
yeah, we
Fire-
really should have mentioned.
Yeah,
that.
sorry. The music in Grave of the Fireflies was just wonderful.
The
Anyway,
music is good in all of these.
I just really like Castle in the Sky.
Just
as well.
assume it's really fucking good.
Yeah, right. But
it's hard to talk about music. That's unless you're a musician, like a really prolific one. It's hard. Like even my boy Digibro had trouble talking about music until like recently, and he's like good at talking. But
he's got pretty okay taste in music, though. I will say that. Anyway,
he's a good talker.
Grave of the Fireflies is a war drama, and it takes place during the final months of the Second World War, and takes place in Kobe, Japan. And the film opens this. I guess it's not really a spoiler because they show the ending right at the beginning, but it shows right at the beginning, September 1945 at Sanomiya Station. A boy, Seita, is shown dying of starvation, and his spirit gets removed from his body, or he walks out of it, and he starts narrating the story, and so he goes back to March of 1945, so the previous spring, and you just see a bunch of B-29 Super Fortress bombers flying overhead, and they drop a ton of incendiary bombs. Their mother, who was already like in a hospital suffering from a heart condition, they got all the patients from that hospital into a bomb shelter, and then right when they did that, more bombs dropped, and she ends up dying. So Setsuko and Seita, Setsuko's a little girl, and Seita, her older brother, try and survive. And they end up staying at his aunt's for a while, and he finds some supplies that he had buried somewhere and brings those back to his aunt. He keeps this Sakuma Fruit Drops tin from those supplies. The aunt kicks him out because she feels that they're not contributing, and they're just, at this point, now they're just on the
Even
streets.
though she takes their shit.
Right, yeah, she took all their shit, and then, yeah, it's fucking bullshit. But anyway.
Well, they did, like, or she did lodge them and feed them.
That's true. I mean, it's really hard.
She
You gotta
just
watch
didn't
it.
treat them as nicely as she could have.
These
But
mofos
like,
just lost their mom.
she was,
Right.
Yeah, I mean, she was kind of being a bee, but still, like, it's a war, and like the kids weren't, like, they weren't helping her enough. So, but look, they're kids, so it's
Yeah.
kind of
Right.
like.
Anyway,
It's kind of like a lose-lose situation,
Right.
really. But
Anyway, without saying too much more, they're basically at the street at this point. They're getting sick. They're getting hungry. There's a point where they're in an abandoned bomb shelter, and to light it up, they capture a bunch of fireflies and release the fireflies.
And thus the name of the movie.
And then the next day, they all die, and that's when things just start going way downhill.
And they make a little grave.
Just
for the
remember,
fireflies.
when you see the name of the movie in this one, you know shit's just gonna get a lot worse.
So anyway, without saying too much more, Setsuko dies of malnutrition.
Without saying too much more.
Without spoiling, spoiler.
Seda then cremates her and puts her in the fruit tin. And he overhears that Japan has surrendered unconditionally to the Allied powers. He learns that their father is probably dead because he was working for the Imperial Japanese Navy.
He was commander of the Japanese cruiser Maya.
Yep, he tried to keep going. Obviously, he also died of malnutrition. But it is also to say that maybe there's a theme there that he died of a broken heart because he had just lost everyone. You know, his mom died in the beginning. Setsuko died in his arms.
Yeah, actually, the movie's based on a true story, and the character who plays the boy character actually lived in real life, and it's basically like his death kind of is kind of like a metaphor for the real person. That's what really happened. It's kind of showing like how war changes who we are temporarily, and like his death is like symbolizing like he's not the same after that, like the real person.
Who
But then
would be
in the movie,
right?
you know?
Yeah. So that's basically it. There's a lot of crazy things that happen in between of what I said in the beginning at the end there, but it's definitely an anti-war film. It's very sad. It's one of those movies I think.
See, that's a little contentious though. Some people would argue that. I'm reading some things that say that it's not explicitly anti-war.
No, definitely not. It's definitely
because
like
there's no battles that take place. There's no like soldiers that you see fighting and stuff. I mean, it is anti-war in a sense. Like, I agree that like war is bad, but like, you know, then also there's not that many pro-war films that aren't like straight propaganda, like little tiny snippets. But
well, it's one of those things.
Ahead.
Well, no, it's one of those things. No, and I agree with you. I'm just saying it's one of those things like this is one story of one person or two people in a sea of millions of other stories. You know, like there were 65 million Jews that were killed at the Holocaust, and Anne Frank was one story. You know what I'm saying? Like it was one of those things.
It's almost similar to Anne Frank a little bit because like the character
in a way,
dies at the end, and like actually Anne Frank died literally, but spoilers. I don't know why I'm laughing about that. I'm thinking of the Family Guy scene where they're eating potato chips in the attic.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But no,
laughing about war, but
no, I agree with you. I agree.
It's more of like a survival story, kind of like Anne Frank, where they're trying to survive.
This is
And
the
it shows,
kind
like, how
of
they
story.
change and how other people around them change.
This is the kind of story that you watch, and literally, it just gets worse and worse as you watch it.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, your jaw is open. You may or may not be bawling your eyes out.
I bawled.
And you just think to yourself, wow, I am like drained. Like this movie will literally drain the life out of you.
Yeah, it's the opposite of a healing anime.
Yeah,
it's the opposite of the next
exact
movie.
opposite of the one we're talking about later.
This is one of those films you watch one time and you're probably never going to watch it again.
Yeah, you're good after that. You're just like, I'm good.
Right. Unless you have to show it to somebody else.
And Sam, you're mentioning it's like kind of like
Schindler's List. Yeah.
I can't say it.
I cannot watch. I watched that one time and I was like, I'm done. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah, this is definitely going
Technolize.
on the things that I will
Technolize.
not rewatch.
Although,
Yeah.
never mind. I don't want to go on a tangent. But I was going to say, although Technolize, you can rewatch that first episode multiple times because that's a really interesting episode, but not
Anyway.
really part of the discussion.
Fuck me up,
so,
fam.
yeah.
Fuck me up, fam.
Fuck me up, fam. Technolize, fuck me up. Anyways, yeah, I think it's a great film. I do really like the design of it. You know, they took a lot of pictures. They did a lot of research for it. You know, it actually kind of goes by kind of quick. It's only about an hour, 20 minutes. Or hour and a half, I think. But it's a really quick hour and a half.
Yeah, Castle in the Sky is the longest one of the three that we're talking about.
Yeah, just wait till we talk about Pompoko. That movie's like 2.5 hours. Anyway.
Oh, God.
But yeah, I love Pompoko.
Just kidding.
Anyway, I did really like it. But there was a point where it's almost too much. It was too depressing, and I was just like,
Yeah.
I understand the realness of it. I get that.
I mean, if you think ReZero is suffering, try watching Grave of the Fireflies. let me just tell you that.
Yeah, nah, I think it's a great movie. There is just one dub of it, and it's pretty good.
The dub's good.
The
Yeah,
dub's
the dub's
pretty good.
The only thing I would say is, like, based on the setting specifically,
Oh,
like
there's
it
two
does take
dubs.
place in Japan, and it's about Japanese people specifically with this conflict. Like, I think it makes more sense to watch it subbed, just
I
for
agree.
this specific Ghibli movie, because the other ones you can kind of like, you don't necessarily have to watch them subbed.
I
Even
agree.
though they take place in Japan. This one's like specifically like that time period and all that. I feel like that just makes more sense to watch sub.
I would agree with that assessment.
I agree. Yeah.
I would agree.
The dub's good though, so just
The
if you
dub
want to,
the
watch
dub
it.
I'm referring to is the Sky Pilot Entertainment one in 1998. There is a 2012 dub, but
Whatever one I watched was good. I don't remember which one it was, but at least one of them's good. So
yeah, I
At
watched
least one of
this.
them is good, so you've got a 50-50 shot.
yeah, you got a 50-50 chance. Well,
got a
technically a
50-50.
66-33 chance because the sub is good too. So
Right.
let's do math on the podcast, guys.
Math.
anyway-
How do math? But Stoner, that leaves you with 99%.
But anyway, like I said, we'll
So
give
actually,
our
it would be 66.6666 repeating and 33.3333.
Repeating, of course.
okay. Yeah. All right,
Thanks,
right,
Leroy.
yeah. I failed math. I don't care. I failed geometry. All right. Anyways, I don't know much about physical science. Here's the thing.
What about the physics of the booty?
the physics of the booty is for real?
Let's just move on.
All right. But anyways, yeah, let's move on to the next one. I do really like Grave of the Fireflies. We'll give ratings at the end. Obviously, I already said that. So let's just let's go on to the next one. So this is perfect because after you watch Grave of the Fireflies, Nick.
Oh, thank you for the segue, Sam. You get to watch the movie called. Hold on, let me find the title. I'm just kidding.
Jesus Christ. That
Let me check
fucking
my notes really
segue
quick.
was
Oh,
so
God.
bad.
Shuffle some papers. So this movie is called My Neighbor Totoro, and it was released in the same year, 1988. And actually, a funny thing about Totoro and Firefly, Grave of the Fireflies, is that not Firefly. Geez, that's completely different. So Totoro and Grave of the Fireflies were both Ghibli, and apparently a lot of the animators they were working on both at the same time. So like sometimes they wouldn't even know like which frame went to which film. They're just like drawing stuff.
Oh man,
I was watching I got
Dude,
that from
they had to do Totoro alongside Grave of the Fireflies because it probably depressed the fuck out.
Yeah, to borrow a line from the Bob Samurai and Black Critic Eye video, he's like, here, draw a cute, fluffy animal. Now draw a dead body. Shout out to Black Critic Eye. We'll link in the show notes. But I just thought that was a really good line.
That's pretty funny.
So like, My Neighbor Totoro is it's definitely much more family friendly than Grave of the Fireflies. It's about two children. There's two girls. They're named I always forget their names. It's Mei and Satsuki. There we go. And Satsuki's the older one. She takes care of Mei, and their father's with them as well. Their mother is sick in the hospital, and they're moving out to the countryside. They're setting up their house
To be closer to the hospital.
to be closer to the mom. And they're just living their life. That's basically the movie, is like the kids are living their life. They're exploring, and Satsuki goes to school, and then Mei is she's exploring one day, and she finds these fluffy animals, and she's curious, like that. Earlier on they were exploring the house and they found acorns and stuff. The animals are dropping acorns, and she's like following them, and they run into this thicket, and she follows them in there. It's like this huge forest area, and she encounters a giant fluffy animal, and it's called a Totoro. She learns by screaming at it, and it yells, it kind of like screams at her. It roars at her, and she's like, "Oh, Totoro!"
Yeah, like yawns at her, but he yawns really loud because he's a cat bus.
Yeah, and it's like
He's a
really
cat.
famous.
Money.
It's like a really iconic image when she's like laying on the Totoro's belly. You've probably seen it. I mean, even if you don't know anime, you've probably seen that
I
image.
love that scene so much. Oh my
And there's another iconic image later on where they're at the bus stop with the Totoro and like the umbrella and stuff.
Yeah.
And so yeah, she meets the Totoro and she tells Satsuki and her dad about it, and then they're like, "Oh, it's the spirit of the forest." So then the Totoro doesn't even show up till 30 minutes into the movie. I mean, at that point, it's just like the kids playing and learning, and it's just it's a fluffy, light movie.
Feel good. That is what it is. It is a feel
Iyashike.
good.
It is Iyashike. And I think, I don't know if it's the first one, but it's one of the first Iyashikes, because it took them years just to get it made, because people couldn't wrap their heads around the idea of a movie without like a real villain or a plot, like a strong one. So Totoro is just kind of like wavy and whimsical. That's the whole thing. And at a certain point they visit their mom, and then they talk to her, and they're going on, and then at some point their mom gets like a little more sick, and the kids get worried, and May gets lost, and they have to find May. And that's like the climax of the movie, pretty much, is they find her, and then they reunite and everything, and their mom's going to be okay. That's the movie.
because best
Not much
best
plot.
character cat bus. Best
The
character
cat bus saves them.
It's a cat that's a bus. It's just being a bus.
And you actually first meet the cat bus when they're waiting for their dad at the bus stop in the rain, and it's taken forever. And the Totoro is like shielding them with she gives the umbrella to the Totoro, and then he does
he
some
has
cute
fun
stuff
with it.
Yeah.
That scene
And
was so perfect. Oh my god.
he gets off on the cat bus, and he just like whisked away. And it's really cool. So like Totoro is actually the mascot of Studio Ghibli.
Yeah.
Totoro. It's like a big fluffy animal, kind of like a bunny or
with like these little, it's like gray, and the belly's like white, and it's got these like little chevrons, gray chevrons.
Yeah, it's like
in
an
it.
owl and a bunny and a cat all mixed together, sort of.
I should say too that this is
Yeah.
also a Hayao Miyazaki one. So this is directed and screenwritten by him, and the music is done by...
Yeah, this is a Miyazaki film.
Because it's a Miyazaki one, it has a Disney dub, which is pretty good. I like the Disney dub a lot.
Yeah, I really like the dub. I've actually never watched it subbed. I'm sure the sub is good as well, but
the music was also done by Joe Hisaishi, who did Castle in the Sky. So the soundtrack in Totoro is really good.
oh yeah, and
Let
and
me
Matt
tell
can
you about
attest.
the soundtrack in Totoro.
Yeah.
If you were like me and you saw Clannad before you saw My Neighbor Totoro, you may have to choke back tears, because funny enough, the soundtracks between the two shows are really, really similar, and you're seeing
Totoro copied
cute,
Clannad,
you're
dude.
seeing cute, fluffy stuff, but yet you're hearing this music that you equate to a sad show in which you literally bawl your eyeballs out 3 times in the second season. And it's just this really strange feeling. I didn't know how to process it.
Yeah, it's like a halcyon, nostalgic, like warm feeling. Yet it's almost like a little bit bittersweet. Like that's what the music kind of evokes into me. Does it sound like I wrote that in notes? Because I did not. I made that shit up.
I made it shit up.
Every time I say the word halcyon, I think
And
of
we found the intro. I made that shit up.
every time I say the word halcyon, though, I think of the monarch from Venture Bros, and he's like, "Oh, those were the halcyon days," and he's like eating butterflies and stuff. Yeah, so that's what reminds me of Totoro. But yeah, Totoro is really just like a whimsical movie, and it's really nice.
What was your favorite scene, Nick?
Oh man, I don't know. Probably.
Because I already said mine. Mine is when they're waiting on their dad, and Totoro has the umbrella. That's so perfect.
I like the whole movie. Yeah, the bus scene is really famous and classic. I like that one a lot. I almost kind of like the scene at the beginning where Mei, you see the difference between Satsuki and Mei and like how they move as characters, like because Mei's copying her older sister just like in real, like a kid would do in real life, and she's repeating what she's saying and she's like opening and slamming doors, but they're doing it differently, and you see like their personalities right away, and it's just like it's really realistic and like heartwarming. So. And then there's like the scene where she's like sitting on the cat bus and the music's playing, and I'm just like tearing up. I'm like, oh god,
Oh
where
god.
they're trying to save Mei, and yeah, that was those are probably my favorite ones.
My favorite scene, I will say, hands down, is when Mei first goes into the forest, and she sits on top of the Totoro, and he's sleeping.
Yeah.
And I swear that Snorlax is probably the Pokemon Snorlax is based off of Totoro. Like, I'm so sure that's what it is. But he's sleeping.
We're just gonna say it. It's a fact.
Yeah, it's a fact. He's sleeping on his. He's sleeping on his back.
Folks.
He's sleeping on his back, and May's just on there playing with his nose, touching him, and bothering him, and he's yawning and sneezing, and he sneezes so loud because he's a big, furry, bunny thing.
He's a big, fluffy Totoro face,
and he sneezes and it blows her off, and she crawls back on top of him to play with his face some more, and she falls asleep on him, and I swear to Satan, it is the fucking cutest thing. Oh my
Swear
god.
to Satan.
Swear to Satan. Oh my god.
Hey, Satan's legit. Anyway,
Shout out to Silicon Valley.
It's
One of the
great.
guys is a Satanist.
It's great.
Um,
I love it. It's my favorite scene.
I just think it's crazy how like recognizable Totoro is, the character.
Oh yeah.
It's like you think of like a famous mascot, you think of like Mickey Mouse, Totoro.
Yeah. Yep.
It's just like bam, right in your memory bank.
It's just like pow, right in a
it's,
kisser.
It's really iconic. It's like Sonic for Sega, Mario for Nintendo. Okay.
Oh yeah, Mario.
When you see the golden arches, it's McDonald's. You know what I'm saying?
They had Totoro in South Park.
They
went to Imagination Land.
They had Totoro in South Park. There was a huge
in Toy Story.
In Toy Story 3, there was
it's everywhere.
There was a huge Totoro reference in Bob's Burgers, except he was a big turkey. On the Thanksgiving episode, it was great. It's Totoro is so iconic. He's had such an impact on pop culture, and even though the film doesn't have like a straight up plot to it, like Nick said, it's kind of like a big slice of life movie, because you're just following the life of these two girls and their father.
Yeah, there's actually some deeper themes too, but you can, even at surface value, you can appreciate it a lot.
I think one of the great themes about it, and this is just my personal thing, and I'm sure that other people have said this too, is I think Miyazaki-san wanted to just like really capture the imagination of children and show it to you through their eyes, right? Because and if you watch The Kingdom of Dreams and Madness, he talks about how children are like the future because they see everything so differently than adults do or older people do, and that their imagination is literally the future. It's gonna change things in the future. It's gonna help with things, it's gonna help drive the human race forward, and I think that's really important, and it's really cool to see how Satsuki and Mei, they look at Totoro for help, you know what I'm saying? Like when that whole thing happens where Mei gets lost and she finds Totoro, and Totoro's like, got you, fam, no problem. Because, you can see me, and I can see you. And I got you because you're legit as fuck. You're just a little kid, and I got you. I don't know, Totoro's legit. He's
It
a cool
really
guy.
is.
He's a great neighbor to have, okay? Let's just say that.
There's a really, I found a really cool analysis of, analysis of Totoro that we can post in the show notes. I think it's by... This is like 10-year-old analysis, but it's from someone named Reiko Okuhara. So we'll post it in the show notes. She basically says that Totoro is kind of, it's not just about nostalgia. It's about how it was in the old days, and how when Mei gets lost, the whole village gathers and they try to find her. And then in present day, a lot of Japanese don't even know their neighbors. And that applies outside of Japan too. and it's kind of showing like how, like people were all close knit way back when, and it's like the difference between then and now. So it's like, it's just really, I guess my interpretation is showing how like togetherness is beneficial, and being, playing outside, and being with nature, and understanding that nature is important. It's not really about nature, but like family and nature, and being a human, like all that stuff is important. And that's like the basic thing that I got out of it. She goes way into detail on it.
So
We can post it on the show notes.
So, let's start with Totoro and just work our way back. What did we score these?
Oh, so I made a spreadsheet, and I actually edited. I changed Grave of the Fireflies. Anyway, I'll get into it. So my spreadsheet, I had Castle in the Sky, and keep in mind my scores don't follow like Mal's average score, which is like 7.
Start on My Neighbor Totoro and work your way back.
Oh shit. Okay. Well, disclaimer: Mal's average score is right around a 7. My average score is right around like a 5.6. So keep that in mind. My Neighbor Totoro, I gave it a 7.9, which is really high on my ratings. I've only given like maybe 10% of the shows an 8 or higher, and maybe 20%. Anyway, and after My Neighbor Totoro, are we just gonna go one by one, or should we? How do you want to do this?
Everybody answers it, and then we move on to the next.
That makes sense, actually. Yeah. So I give Totoro 7.9 out of 10. Honestly, I think you could give all of these a 10 if you really wanted. Like, these are all really good movies. It's just my rating system is a little wonky, and it's not even Galleon, so it's not a 10. That's why I did it.
Cham?
For My Neighbor Totoro, I gave it a 10 because I can't give it any less. There's literally nothing I don't like about it.
Yeah.
I just can't. I really.
You're not wrong.
No, yeah, right. I just can't. Like,
I feel bad. I probably should give it a 10. But
I could find nitpicky things about it, I guess, but that's honestly just dumb. When you watch the movie, you're just like, whatever, it's great. Like, if you don't like it, you're probably a lonely bastard who's never gotten laid. I don't know. Like seriously.
So in other words, you're Nick.
You're a
Ah!
I've gotten laid. What are you talking about? The sex tape's online. And it's 5 hours long, I swear. God.
And on that blatant
All right.
lie, I gave My Neighbor Totoro a resounding 10 out of 10, just like Sam did, because this, as Sam said, there is nothing not to like about this movie. It is literally just pure bliss on the screen. You soak it up and you enjoy it, and damn it, it just absolutely just destroys everything that it does. It hits it out of the park. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I actually teared up more at My Neighbor Totoro than I did at Grave of the Fireflies.
Dude,
which
the nostalgia feels.
kind of remarkable. Yeah.
The nostalgia feels.
I'm in a Yashike, what's the word for it? Fiend. I don't know. Someone who likes them a lot.
And now we go from feeling happy to feeling depressed.
Feeling empty.
Okay, Nick, what did you give Grave of the Fireflies?
So originally I had it at like a 7.2, and then I realized, like, I just thought back on it and like how well it was directed and scored, and the themes of it and stuff, and I'm just gonna give it the same score as Totoro. I'll give them both an 8. It's really good. It's just not easy to watch. It's not as enjoyable as Totoro or Castle in the Sky or most things that you're gonna watch. Like, Konosuba is more enjoyable than Grave of the Fireflies. But Grave of the Fireflies is basically a masterpiece. It's really good.
Sam?
Grave of the Fireflies, I think I gave it an 8. Because it's just like...
It's hard to give it a 10, because there's like no rewatch value.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to watch it again.
Yeah. Like, even just like rewatch value aside, I just feel like it's almost like... It's interesting. It's a very good film, and it's cool to watch, especially like to know the story and stuff. But it's almost like too real for me. Like, it just is so sad. Like, it was just Even though I know, Nick said earlier like that in real life the dude lived or whatever, but it's just the way the execution is too perfect that it's too real for me, and I just is like,
Yeah, I guess I shouldn't say there's no rewatch value, because if you're trying to figure out like how they directed it and how well it was made, then yeah.
oh sure.
As far as entertainment value, like you're not going to be more entertained the next time you watch it.
Yeah, nah, I'm good.
That's what I meant.
Yeah,
So,
no, I'm good.
Grave of the Fireflies. I'm actually the outlier on this one. I gave it a 9 out of 10, and I don't really factor in rewatch value whenever I score something. I factor in how much I enjoyed it and just, how well I thought everything was executed. This one, it makes me not want to rewatch it, but it makes me not want to rewatch it for all of the right reasons, if that makes any sense. The movie,
yeah, it did
the
everything
movie
in the
just
first watch.
sews everything so well that once is enough, and
Yeah.
anything that can affect you like that, I think, definitely deserves, at least a 9 out of 10, and that's what I'm going for, because it was heart-wrenching and heartbreaking, and I never want to watch it again, but I'll be damned if I don't give it a 9 out of 10. And on to the movie we talked about first, which will be the movie we talk about last, Castle in the Sky. Take it away, Nick.
So I gave this one on my spreadsheet a 6.8, but I gave it a 7. I could see people rating it a 10. It's a really fun movie. It's a very fun like adventure action movie. So the reason I only gave it a 7 and not an 8 compared to the other two is that its themes weren't as powerful. It was more kind of linear and traditional, and I guess the characters in Castle... I don't know. The characters are really good in Castle in the Sky, too. Really, my favorite ones were the pirates. But then the main characters were a little bit less notable than the ones in, like, Totoro and Firefly and the other stuff.
I can see where you're coming from there.
Like, Sheeta is a good character, but she's not a great character. Does that make sense? She's, like, not a 10 out of 10. She's, like, she's good. Like, you like her, but... there's not a lot you can go with there. She's just like a capable protagonist.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, animation-wise and action, like the choreography and stuff is 10. Like, it's great. When they're on the train tracks and, on that chase scene and all the debris is flying everywhere and particles are going nuts, and it's like smooth animation too. It's like fantastic and it's fun. So, like, this is a really fun movie, much more fun, and I would rather watch this 10 times before watching Grave of the Fireflies more time.
I would rather watch this 100 times. What are you talking about?
Well, if you're like, I'd rather watch this 10 times in a row than have to watch Grave of the Fireflies again. But maybe that's an exaggeration. But yeah, it's a fun movie. I gave it a 7. I like it.
Castle in the Sky, I give it an 8. I just think it's, you know what, if you're one of those people who hasn't seen like all the Ghibli films and you're thinking to yourself, you know what, I'm gonna watch all these. It's like a great first. If you're going in release order, it's a great introduction to them. It really is. And it's fun. It's kind of targeted towards everyone. So like, I think anyone could watch this and just enjoy it. The animation,
yeah, that's a good point.
The animation, like Nick said, like the choreography, like done is so great. It's animated so well, and I think it doesn't overwhelm you with the story at all. I think it's a really, really fun film. So I just gave it an 8 out of 10. Probably I could see why people would give it a 10 out of 10. The only reason I didn't is probably because, or even a 9, was probably because Nick said this before, but like I guess like I had time to think about it. The villain could have been a little more rounded, I suppose, and the relationship. I would have really liked to see them build Sheeta a bit better.
Yeah. I think she was almost too perfect. She's okay in the movie The Force Awakens. She reminds me of Rey from that.
Oh, sure.
Right?
Yeah,
She's just like too perfect.
Well, I think
It isn't really a complaint. It's just like,
right.
you know.
I think in The Force Awakens they were trying to wait to reveal more about her though, till the 8th film or whatever the fuck. But that's what I gave it, 8 out of 10. Oh wait, wait. Also the music in Castle in the Sky out of these 3 is my favorite. Like,
oh yeah, I liked it a lot.
As we go down the line and watch more, that might change, but right now that's like my favorite soundtrack.
I might be with you. I'm just gonna say Totoro for now. I'm not sure. I'd have to listen to him again.
Sure.
It's close though.
So, Mac?
Castle in the Sky. I think I'm going to settle on 7 out of 10 on this one. I agree a lot with what both of you guys said as far as, the characters go and, about the villains and the animation and everything. I pretty much agree with all of it. I feel that the animation was absolutely gorgeous. The world building, the actual the backgrounds to it all were just stellar and beautiful. The characters filled their parts, but Nick was right when he said they were a little. They could have possibly been a little better. I don't know how they could have been better, but at the same time, it felt just a tad lacking as far as the main characters go. But
I think they were just a little. Sorry to interrupt. I think they were just a little bit less human than the other 2 films.
Yeah,
they were more
I can
exaggerated and fun. Like, don't get me wrong, they were really fun. They were just a little bit less realistic.
Yeah, but with the pacing of the show and everything, the pacing is like go, which I don't have a problem with. It's an adventure movie, and it fills that note well. Yeah, I mean, 7 out of 10 for me, but that's a very, very strong 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I would recommend Castle in the Sky to like every single person. Like, out of these 3, if I'm blindly recommending a movie, I'd just be like, Castle in the Sky. Just watch that. Like,
right.
I'd probably go with
so
My
easy,
Neighbor
like,
Totoro before Castle in the Sky.
Fair. But like, everybody is gonna like Castle in the Sky. Like,
yeah, because
you're not gonna find someone who doesn't like it.
Fun, like, adventure story. It's just fun.
Right.
This actually might be like one of my. Sorry to interrupt, Son.
Oh no,
this might be like one of the first anime movies I'd recommend to just anybody. Like, not even Ghibli, just any kind of anime movie. I'd be like, Castle in the Sky.
It's so easy to watch. It doesn't overwhelm you. It's really great. It's really great. It's a really great intro to the Ghibli films too.
So I feel kind of bad giving it a 7, but like, I'll put a little asterisk on there. 7.
Put a little respect on it.
Recommend.
Dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a strong 7. It's a very strong 7.
So on that note, I think that was a pretty good start. If you want to watch, the next 3 we're doing is Kiki's Delivery Service, Only Yesterday, and Porco Rosso. Only Yesterday just got a dub. It just got one.
Sounds like I'll be watching the dub.
Yeah, so I mean, it came out in 1991. I actually watched.
I hope Monica Rial is in it.
I actually.
He's like, hello everyone.
I actually watched Only Yesterday when I think I was 11 or 12 years old when I watched it, because AMC was doing a special on Hayao Miyazaki films, and they showed everything from Castle in the Sky up to Princess Mononoke, which is really cool. But yeah, those are the next 3 we're doing. So if you want to watch along, I'll tell you it now. So when you're listening to this one, you can watch them, and then when we come up with the next one, you already know what to do, fam. You already know what to do.
And
there's only a few characters in that movie.
On that bombshell, we ran a little bit over. On that bombshell, I've been.
If anything, we ran under
back.
Talking about Ghibli, man.
Well,
That's
yeah.
true.
I mean, time constraints. Yeah. Now that he completely fucked my outro, I'm Mac. I'm Mac.
Just cut my part out.
He's Nick. We're the fucking Anime Summit podcast. Whatever. Bye.
Fuck you guys.
What a great ending. See ya.
I mean, I had to put forth effort. Just a teeny
It's like
little bit of
the whole
effort.
episode was pretty high effort. Then we're like, we're done.
Wait, like and subscribe on YouTube. Wait.
Follow me on Twitter. It's @BlindFreeman. Glasses push.
Can you send me high quality Steam cards?
Send me emojis and memes, please.
I'm done. I'm gonna...